All right. Let's get get you satisfied. So we are talking today. We're having a special review on Parasite. So,
Yes.
David, what did you think about this movie that nobody's heard about? And
I thought it was okay.
it was done pretty well, I guess.
Yeah,
Pretty well.
it was okay.
Go
No,
ahead.
I love this movie. I love this movie. Directed by Bong Joon-ho,
Mm.
who a lot of people will remember Snowpiercer. That was his biggest film to date before this one. It's a South Korean film. We did a list last week about our favorite Korean films, and this would definitely be on it. But it's about a film. It's about a film.
It's about a film. I was like, wait, did we see the
It's
same
a
movie?
film within a film. No, it's
Inception.
about two families.
Yes.
One being really poor, and one being really rich. And the poor family figures out a way to work for this rich family. They I guess, could be the titular parasites. I guess you could look at that either way because both, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. Um, but it starts off with the son, Kevin, who a friend tells him that he knows a rich girl who needs to be tutored. He's tutoring him, and he's about to go to school abroad. Um, and he tells Kevin he can fake some credentials to take over the job. And Kevin figures out to get his rest of his family into positions with this rich family. And it's just done in such a masterful way. It's kind of a dark comedy and then becomes like a thriller. It's really a dark comedy thriller. Is that what you would call it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I always get caught up between saying suspense thrillers or suspense. I was like, well, thrilling is suspenseful. I was like, I don't know that those stupid genre names. Did I say genre? Genre. We're on a
Genre.
movie. This is a professional movie review podcast. I have to look up the pronunciation for this stuff. Genre. Yeah, how much are you going to reveal of this? Because are we just stopping like in the first 10 minutes of it and then just going to get more vague into it?
I would love to get real deep on this film, but I don't want to. A lot of people probably have not seen this yet because it's still in theaters.
Yeah.
It hasn't made it to home video yet. It did win the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which
Mm-hmm.
is a prestigious award. That is the best film screen there. Um, it's we could talk about some of the themes without giving much away.
Yeah.
If you look at Snowpiercer, he's already touched on these topics before. This is class struggle. And I actually read a interview by Bong, and I love that name, Bong. Bong brings me back to my earlier days. But and I was already thinking this in my mind before I read this review. Snowpiercer's very vertical.
Horizontal.
One end of the train is the lower class, and they fight their way to the front of the train,
Yeah.
where the ruling class is. And this movie is very vertical. The poor, figuratively and literally, live below the rich. They're, the rich are up in almost the foothills, looks like of a mountain almost, and the poor is down in the bottom, and they live in a sub basement. And he actually says Snowpiercer is his hallway movie, and Parasite is his stairway movie.
Oh,
Which
you
is,
actually found him saying that?
yeah,
That's
and
funny.
that's I got that feeling. They're almost companion pieces, really, if you think about it, because the themes are so close. Um, but it's just class struggle where, like I said, it's a symbiotic relationship. The rich family really needs that poor family to be there to take care of their needs. They're very gullible. They have no idea what they're doing. Besides, the dad knows how to make money. The rest of them don't know what the hell is going on in life. Very first world type issues going on in this family. The poor people, they're almost like scavengers. But to be a successful scavenger, you got to be pretty smart and on your feet. And these people, they're very smart and intelligent. And unfortunately, a lot of movies, poor people are played off as being dumb.
Well,
In this
yeah.
movie, it's not that at all. These people are very cerebral. They know what they're doing, and they just do it in such a beautiful way to just come into this family with these great schemes, and they take over this house pretty much.
Yeah, I liked the movie. I feel like so I didn't miss anything and I didn't fall asleep during it. So don't I didn't miss any of the scenes. I get everything that you're saying, and I saw the class struggle. Obviously it was pretty in your face. Like that was pretty much the basis of the whole movie was the difference in their lives and what they were seeking to attain. I think the biggest problem that I had was because um, I just didn't care about them. You know, like they were essentially it was almost like what I was feeling like it was kind of like a heist movie. The way they're trying to like oh they get in and they're trying to trick them into oh this is what I am and you know she art therapist or something for children she tries to be.
Yeah, the sister's art there turns into an art therapist.
Yeah, and the acting, so I love the acting. The acting was great. Acting was fine. I didn't have any problems with that. Everything was believable. The film work, the camera work, everything was fine. The lighting, all that, you know, is that something we love to talk about so much. I just had to mention that. Um, the, but I just didn't. I get really invested in movies that where I care about the characters, but these guys were assholes. The people they were trying to trick were assholes. It's just like there was no one in the movie that I really cared to see survive. You know, it was just like I don't know. Do I care? Like, and when it all happened, you know, whatever happens in the end and the climax, I was just like, okay, that happened. Like, it sure was it twist or was it a shock? Like, yeah, I guess so. But I wasn't blown away. Like, I was waiting for that moment because of all the reviews we read. And I was like, I was expecting just like to feel that the whole movie, but it was sort of this build up. And I enjoyed like how they planned their way in and stuff. And I picked up on, I was like, oh, Parasite, I get it. Because in the beginning, I don't think this is a giveaway. It's like happens in the first 10 minutes when they start spraying the fogger in the streets
Oh,
and
that's
he's like
hilarious.
yeah and he flicks the bug on the table. I was thinking like oh parasites there's going to be a bugs or some kind of like subtle kind of horror movie like with the bugs or something. And then after I realized like oh I'm an idiot, it's metaphorical, like there's no there's no actual parasites. And then so then I was like oh I felt like they were trying to trick me, it was a red herring. But yeah, the comedy, it was pretty funny too in between. Yeah, it was done well. I feel like that's my go-to statement now. That's my
Done
other
well.
t-shirt. It's my first t-shirt is it's on my list. And my second one on the back it's gonna say it was done well.
It's kind of like when I get on people who use the term pretentious,
Yeah.
because I think half the time that just means they didn't understand.
Mm.
That's so pretentious. You just didn't really get it.
I'd like to use that word someday. I gotta look it up.
I have to look it up.
So
But
pretentious of you to use that word.
it's so pretentious of me.
I think I used it right.
And you know, I feel differently about the family. Growing up, like I grew up pretty poor, so I understand class struggle.
Sure.
I think as well as most people could. Building myself up come from a poor family to, I guess, what you would consider middle class. It's even weird for me to say that. Um, I don't call myself middle class, but if you looked at how I live my life, I'm pretty middle class, but was never raised that way. So I guess maybe I can relate to the family because I just see it as them going into survival mode. I mean, they're living in absolute squalor, and they see these people who have a much more than what they need, and they find a way to get a piece of that. Um, so it, they're not the most morally sound people, but I can understand why they're doing it, and I don't really knock them for doing it. And just to say, the rich family for most of the movie, I don't really have a problem with them either. You know, they're gullible but they're not total assholes about it. They're not played, the poor people aren't made to look stupid like is.
Wait, you don't remember the end?
No, that's what I'm saying for most of the movie.
Oh, okay. I cut you
So
off.
for most of the movie, the rich people, they seem kind of caring. They're not
Mhm.
stereotypical rich robber baron assholes or something
Well,
like that.
I'll say one thing towards the middle and even towards when the father gets involved, because we already did say that the family is pretty much squeezing their way in. When the father gets involved, he starts to talk about smell.
Yes, that's a big theme in the
Yeah.
film.
I feel like that was towards the beginning when I was like, oh, they're kind of snooty assholes, like the rich people.
Which is really the smell of being poor is
Mm,
is what they're really
right.
referencing in the film, and that's where you start seeing small little subtle um, pieces of their morality coming into focus, but for three-quarters of the film they don't seem like terrible people, um, but it's how it just goes all insane
Hmm.
in that third act.
Yeah.
It reminds me, and it's not even near the same genre or anything. I'm just talking about feeling um, of Audition, where Audition. Have you seen that film before?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it twice,
If
a
you
long
showed
time ago.
somebody Audition who knew nothing about it, the movie for the first hour is like a romantic comedy almost.
It is slow, and
Yeah,
it's just like you don't see the third act coming.
yeah.
And
If
the
I
third
don't tell
act
you it's
being
a
like the
horror
last
movie or
10
anything,
minutes.
yeah. And then it just goes off the fucking rails insane. Now this
Yeah.
movie doesn't go as insane as Audition, but that third act, it's a whole different movie. Um, the range of emotions that this movie made me feel was amazing. You laughed and almost, and then there's certain parts where you just feel sad, and other parts that you just feel angry. It's that's why I liked it so much because it made me feel so many different types of emotions. And if you ever see me writing about anything on Facebook, if I'm talking about this movie made me feel a range of emotions, that's probably one of the biggest compliments I can give a film.
Well,
Um,
kind of like mine, where I say it did well.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's made well.
It was,
They
and
they did
when you,
pretty good with that camera.
I loved the lighting.
But the movie in the movie plays a trick on you. The next to last shot, and I'm not going to give it away, but you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, no, the fuck, are they going to ruin this whole fucking movie with an ending like that? And I'm like, there's no, he just totally destroyed the whole theme of this movie. And then the final shot is one of the best final shots I've ever seen in a movie. How he just played this whole fucking trick on the audience, in the best way possible. And it's like, oh, we're going to end it this way, and it's so happy and merry. And then
There's
you have this shot, and you're like,
Yeah, because the ending, like when you said that, I was like, oh wait, I wanted to say something about the ending. The ending, so because after it finished, I was just looking at my wife and I was like, wait, so that's never going to happen. Because like number one, I remembered the last time they actually got real, him and his son were talking, and he's like, what the like, don't even fucking make plans because it doesn't even matter. The plans
yeah,
are bullshit. And that was what he was talking about. He was like, "Oh, I don't worry, I have a plan." Says the kid who
yeah.
doesn't know how to make plans, first of all. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make all this money. I'm gonna save up." What do you mean you're gonna save up all this money? You haven't been able to do that up until now. Why all of a sudden you're gonna start saving up money to get this house? And it's like, why? What's changed? Like you're still in that situation. And then also he was like, oh, so he's been sending up this message every day for who knows how long, in hopes that his son is the one receiving this. And then his son happens to be able to get it. He gets the message, he figures it out. How is he going to get the message back to him? I was like, so he sees his father come into the kitchen and he's like sending it Morse code back with a flashlight. I was trying to figure out ways, but I was like, he's not gonna be able to send a message back to him. So why is
Yeah,
he
it's all
making
fucking
this?
daydream.
Yeah, and then they show that ending. I was like, what? I was like, I kind of wish I just turned it off right after they hugged. I was like, I would have been happy with that. Because then they showed that. I was like, oh, that's sad. That's really weird. Like, I
I
don't know
I
how to feel
loved
now.
I loved how they ended this movie.
It was good. It was done well.
He left it ambiguous. It's almost a litmus test. Or are you a pessimist or optimist? Because you can read it two different ways. I'm more of a realist, so and the director is more of a realist, and he was
Mm.
like, yeah, I'm just showing you that that's all bullshit. That shit's never going to happen. I love the use of that scholar stone, which is such a big symbol,
Hmm.
and to me, it almost represents like hope. And he's carrying this around, and it's almost like you're in a situation. Hope will kill you. You know, having these huge goals and setting yourself up and being overly optimistic is the death knell to somebody who's living in a shitty situation. It's just going to drive you mad. And the stone ends up giving him brain damage. I mean, if you watch after he gets hit in the head, he obviously has brain damage.
Yeah,
Um,
he got what Joker had. That
yeah,
pseudo bulbar affect disorder.
he's just laughing, man. He's just fucking brain cells are gone. Um, but oh my god, this is such a wonderful film, and you only watched it the once, right?
I only watched it the one time. Yeah, I wanted to watch it before, but then I got real busy today, and last night I fell asleep.
Yeah, I
For
think I
without
watched it twice in 3 days. Um,
twice.
yeah, I watched the
That's
film twice,
oh okay.
and yeah, the second time around, it it's just beautiful. It affected me on a level where not many films affect me on.
Like I don't know. I really wanted to, but I didn't want to just give in to what I was like. I didn't read any reviews. I didn't watch the trailer, and I know we didn't talk about it at all. I don't know if you read anything beforehand. I think
Well,
you
I
said,
did see the trailer because they did screen the trailer before the Lighthouse, so I saw it twice.
"Oh, okay." I don't watch any trailers for movies I'm going to see now. But yeah, I really just wanted to love it by myself and see it and see how it affected me. But like I got most of the symbolism. Like maybe I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing. Not that oh I'm so so what's the word? I'm so perceptive on these things. There's a lot of things I miss, I'm sure. But just the story in itself, it wasn't, I don't know. I just didn't get that. It didn't just blow up and be like, wow, like the best, like everyone's like best movie of the year and stuff like that. And I mean, you're saying it's in your top two? I was like,
Oh,
I,
this is the best
this is
movie.
your best of the wait of the year or decade? Because you
This
give
is a
me a new
number.
top 10 every time we talk.
This is a 10 out of 10.
Gosh. Well, that's a rating. But now I was asking top 20 of the decade, top 10 of the decade.
Um. Oh yeah, easily.
Hmm.
I'll have to think about it. It's probably the top film of the decade. I don't think there's any other films in this decade I'd give a 10 to.
You know,
There,
as we go on in this podcast show, I'm going to keep track. I'm going to have a clip show of your YouTube sayings when you say top 10 of the decade, top 10 of the decade. If it's more than 10, at that point, I'm going to let you know and say, you're going to have to
well,
choose now.
I've said this to Joker and the Lighthouse.
Okay, that's three.
That's three. And
Yeah.
the amazing part that they've all been released in the last 4 months.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm looking. I've been looking and I've been pondering a top 10 list. And it's been a few years since I put one of these together.
Hmm.
This this might be one of the best years in cinema I remember.
Having considering these
Yeah,
three.
I got a top 20 list. And in any other year, I feel that any of those could have been in a top 10.
Hmm.
And it's really hard to whittle it down. There's films that are like after like number 11 and further. It's like it's just hard for me not to say these movies are in the top 10. So my top 10, I'm leaving some really strong movies out of it.
Well,
Um, but the top three of this year are more than likely going to be in top 10 of the decade.
Well, I would definitely like to hear your top 10 of the decade. We got to do like a serious. Oh, that's what we should do for our last one of the year. Whenever we decide that, we should do like some serious top 10s. Definitely of the year, obviously. But then also like of the decade. Oh, yeah, because we're going into 2020. Is that why you keep saying of the decade?
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
last what, 2 months of the decade.
my God, it's the last teen.
Yeah.
My gosh, there's no more teens. We're going to be adults. We're going to be less. Oh my gosh. Then we'll be able to drink soon. 2021, when that comes around, get wasted.
You think a kid born in 1999 is going to be able to drink next year?
Oh, I mean, if you do the math, someone's getting drunk every year, right? On their 21st birthday. The year's coming around. Why necessarily next year?
But yeah, it's this is definitely my film of the year. And you know how much I love The Lighthouse. You know how much I love The Joker.
I was surprised when you said this because after we talked Lighthouse, I was like, man, I wonder how long it's going to be before you say, oh, greatest movie, best movie of the year, decade, millennia. And then this came along the next show, and I was like, oh, well, this is going to be a running thing with you. Every movie is the best movie.
It sounds like it's hyperbole.
Yeah.
But if you look at other reviews of this, there's a lot of people saying this is the top film of the decade.
I want to start hearing
and I don't base my stuff off of what anybody else says.
Yeah.
It's nice sometimes when you see a film like this and it is getting praised because I feel that we're on the vanguard of great art movies coming out, and they're getting so much recognition. I mean, The Lighthouse, The Witch, Hereditary, Midsummer, these movies were all like really profitable in the theaters. That's not how it used to be at all. It's just it amazes me. This movie Parasite, I think, is going to break. It's broken 100 million internationally. That blows me away because movies like this is, people's minds and perceptions are changing about film.